Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to week 2 of Planning for Profit. We're glad to have you on today. We have 2 speakers today, Craig Madsen with the Pacific Northwest Center for Holistic Management and Healing Hooves in Edwall, Washington, and April Thatcher with April Joy Farm, and she's also in Washington. We're really excited to have them today. They're going to be talking about planning for profit and from the perspective of holistic management practitioners. This is Colette D. Phelps, and I'm going to be running the chat log and all the background pieces of the webinar tonight. So our webinar tips for those of you that are new to the webinars: if you close all the other programs running on your computer, that's going to optimize your viewing of the webinar. If your system is slow, you can have a delay in sound or a delay in the slides turning, and that can really be impacted by your programs. And I was telling the other panelists tonight that actually as an organizer, I also have icons that show up for all the attendees that let me know that if you're doing other things on your computer or whether we have your attention and you're watching the webinar. So just so you know. If you could also check your sound, if you are having problems with clarity and speed, and you might want to switch to the phone, and the call-in number is provided in your welcome email. And if you are on the phone, please mute your computer when you're using the phone. All of you are muted now, so your voices and background sounds won't be heard by anyone viewing the webinar, but your experience will be better if you mute your computer sound. There's a question box in the control panel, which is on the right side of your screen, and one of our participants last week wanted me to point out where the control panel is, and your control panel can actually get hidden, and which is shrunk so you won't actually see your question box. And if it is, you'll still have like a small bar, a vertical bar of keys, and there's a red box with an arrow in it, and if you click that, it'll bring your control panel in and out while you're viewing. So if you can type your questions into the question box during the presentation, that will really facilitate our question and answer period, which we'll have after each speaker. So reviewing last week's assignments, we're hoping that you set aside about 5 to 8 hours to work on the course each week, and that you've had a chance to view the week 1 webinar, that you've also introduced yourself in the discussion forum on the course website and taken some time to interact with other participants in those introductions. It'll be great if you were able to finish your week 1 assigned readings and you've begun your week 2 readings, and that you've completed your week 1 assignments, which means you've developed your holistic context in parentheses goal and evaluated a decision, performed a SWOT analysis on your farm or an enterprise, and that you have posted about that in the discussion forum. I do think that a few participants have not yet let me know that they have signed up for an account at the campusextension.org site, and I do need to know when your account is made so that I can manually enroll you in the course. And until I do that, you won't be able to actually see the Planning for Profit course when you log into that account. So if you've done that and I have not enrolled you, just send me an email and I'll enroll you right away. So now we're going to move on to our first speaker, Craig Madsen, talking about holistic financial planning. Thank you, Craig.
Thanks, Colette, and welcome everyone. I wasn't able to be with you last week. Sandy was able to do that presentation for me, and I'm glad that she was able to do that. And I just wanted to cover just a really brief overview of some of the information that Sandy covered last week, just to kind of just touch on a couple things with that, and then move on into covering some of the holistic management financial planning principles. And then, as Colette mentioned, April will be with us to go over her how she's used holistic management on her farm, the April Joy Farm. And just as I said, a quick review of how to managing holistic or using holistic management to to evaluate your decision-making process. And one of the key things, which I hope you've already done, is determine your whole under management, and that is where you're looking at the resources that are available with you if you're looking at a specific business that's available for there, and making sure that the key decision makers are involved in the process of developing that holistic context. And as I mentioned, like Sandy mentioned last time, the holistic context is really very important as a driving force of how you make your decisions. And I missed out on some of the discussion. Colette mentioned that there's some good discussion going on the forum about you going through the process of developing a holistic context, and that sounds great. And I'm sorry I missed that, and I didn't have a chance to interact with that. But the holistic context is a key part of it's a key element in developing or managing holistically and using holistic management. Because I say that's how you evaluate. You use those 7 filters to evaluate your decisions and your goals and objectives. And another key part of that holistic management is that feedback loop. So once you do have a plan in place, it is critical that you do the monitoring and the control to keep that plan in place and make sure you're moving in the direction of your holistic context. And this is just to illustrate that the holistic context is that foundation of what you make. You develop your strategic plan based on that holistic context, and that on that you develop your objectives, and then your tactical plan, which is kind of your daily action list. So that holistic context is a key element that needs to be in place in the very beginning. And if you don't feel like it has to be perfect the first time out, it's a work in progress, and you will fine-tune it as you work, as you evaluate decisions towards it, and you will fine-tune that holistic context. And these are those 7 filters that Sandy went through last time, and these help you look at a decision in 3 aspects, really. Looking at things on a financial aspect, a social, and an environmental or biological aspect. So it helps you look at the big picture and how it affects that decision will affect those different your finances, the social, your relationships that are in the people in the whole, and also the environment. And so these will help you guide those decisions. And you can use it as the example we went through last time. We went through kind of a career-changing process that I went through when I was deciding on making the change from working for NRCS to using the GOAT as a tool for vegetation management. That was kind of a career-changing decision. But it also can be used as a very simple decision, like say for example, you're going to buy yourself a latte or something like that. That's very basic. You can also use the same process to evaluate whether or not that decision will help you create your holistic context. So it doesn't have to be a very complicated decision. It can be a very simple decision that you can use the same framework on. Just wanted to make people aware that it's not designed just solely for. It's really used for helping you evaluate all decisions that you make. And it can be a very quick process. It doesn't have to be a lengthy process. It's designed to go through the process fairly quickly. And just to reiterate, for kind of an assignment, we'd really like to have you use that testing record in at home with holistic management and to evaluate another decision. And just to get in the habit of using that process to help you think through decisions on a daily basis. We have a quick session here. If there's any questions that people may have on that aspect of developing a holistic context or filtering decisions or defining your whole, any specific questions related to that, we can address those at this time before we move on to the next segment.
We don't have anybody that has typed in a question right now, Craig. So if you do have a question, why don't you go ahead and type it in, and we'll catch it in the next question and answer period.
Okay, sounds good. We'll just move on ahead. As far as we're moving on to the kind of the financial planning prospect of this part of the webinar, and just going to cover some basic concepts of financial planning or business planning in general. And one of the things that there's a saying that goes that people don't fail to plan, I mean, they don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. And that's one of the challenges with it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day activities of a business and not set aside the time to do a business plan or develop a financial plan. And that is one of the processes as we go through this, is kind of showing you some of the steps that you can do to develop that financial plan. But it's the key is to take the time to plan. And I know it's a hard time sometimes it's difficult to do that, but it is a very important aspect of creating a successful business. And one of the other aspects of one of the reasons some of the businesses fail is that it's easy to let expenses rise up to your anticipated level of income. And as a result of, if you allow that to happen, sometimes take a loan out against that income that they're anticipating. It's easy to get into a debt trap where they're spending a significant amount of money to finance it, to cover a debt, and not having that resources available to put back into the business and to invest in ways that will help you create your goals and contracts. One other aspect is that also if you focus solely on profits, sometimes you can have negative impacts, damaging side effects such as they can be related to the environment. You can have situations where if you're not taking into account that aspect of a decision, it could be seeing the effects on erosion. Also, it could be on the social side of it, and that could be looking at how you manage relationships in your whole under management. If you're not taking enough time, if you're just fully focusing on the business and the profit side of things and not looking at how much time you spend with family and those kind of aspects of things, it can cause serious problems with a business and lead to a business failure if those issues are not dealt with. And financial management is a lot of numbers. It's a lot of, some people have a scary thing, and there's a lot of numbers that you're crunching numbers and dealing with that. That can be a scary thing to be looking at. But I'm going to try to shift some of that thinking maybe as we talk about some of the shifts in thinking that we go through in the holistic management planning process. And also to keep in mind that money is just one tool. It's just a tool to help you create your holistic context. It's nothing more than that. It's not the end. It is a tool that helps you move. As a tool to help you move in that direction. And money is not the only thing that is wealth, and these would be the things you would identify as you work through your holistic context, and that quality of life statement is the things that you would include in there, what is really important to you, and those would be, I say again, in your holistic context. So they could be financial security, it could be, make sure you have enough adequate time to spend with family and your wife and those kind of things, or your significant other, and your health may be a very important aspect. So there's a lot of different things that we can deem as wealth, and it's not just focusing on money. And those items would be in your holistic context, so that when you evaluating decisions and developing your financial plan, those would you be taking those into consideration, as well as the profit was part of it, and that would be in there. Also would be other aspects of those relationships and those other important values that you have would be included in your